Hey everyone, Green Orb here. I hope you're doing well. Today I want to continue with the Sunday gaming series, specifically focusing on Ori and Will o' the Wisps. This is the follow-on to Ori and the Blind Forest, which was one of the top reviewed indie games of 2015, and honestly a great game. If you haven't played it already, you really should go and grab it. Basically, Ori and Will o' the Wisps is an action-adventure platformer with some fairly detailed combat built in. Generally speaking, people praise it for the art and the art direction and soundtrack and story, and honestly I'm going to stop talking for a little bit and just give you a taste of the game and let you see what they're talking about. Now what might be clear is that the game starts off a little slowly in terms of abilities. Now this is pretty intentional, and it's to let you get used to the multitude of abilities and how to use them, because there really are a lot. So many more than in the original game. If the game actually introduced all of them to you in too short a space of time, it would be virtually impossible to remember all of them, let alone use them effectively. So this is why you're actually seeing the Sunday gaming series a little bit later. I needed some more time to play the game to really get it to a state where I can show you some of the cool things Ori can do. In terms of the story, I just want to say that it gets a lot of praise from virtually every reviewer, and so far I am in 100% agreement with basically everyone on the state of the story. And I don't want to give too much away in this video because obviously we don't want spoilers, so I'll just kind of skip over those sections. In terms of changes from the old game, the first and most welcome change is that autosaves are now a thing, and they're pretty frequent. It's hard to overstate what a change this is from the first one, but let me just say that you will appreciate having them and you will need them, especially as you start to get to grips with some of the new abilities. It's not always entirely obvious how to use them, and certainly the puzzle challenges in Ori and Will o' the Wisps much more difficult in some areas than Ori and the Blind Forest. Other changes, passive skills for Ori are pretty new, and one of the nice things is they're very easy to swap out, so you'll often find yourself swapping them out in different areas of the game, depending on the type of enemies that you're dealing with, depending on the type of jumping challenges and platforming challenges that you're addressing. And it's nice that it is that seamless to swap them out. There are lots of ways to acquire them. You will pick them up as you go along through the game, and there's no ability so far that I've seen that forces you to purchase it to proceed with the main game. One of the new additions, I guess, to this game is the use of Spirit Light as a kind of currency, and with Spirit Light you can buy passive skills as well as some of the more active attacks. Obviously the more you purchase, the more expensive it gets, so if you do want to obtain all of them, you will find yourself trying to hunt down Spirit Light wherever you can. Combat skills are also a very big change from the first game, specifically in that you get a lot more variety and option. I do usually find myself using the basic attack the most, although you do get ranged, fast ranged, heavy melee, normal melee, power ranged, and. I mean, if you are that way inclined and you are that serious about it, you can set up your own perfect build for the exact style of combat that you like the most. And ultimately this game does actually cater to so many different builds that there will be a build for you. One thing I really enjoyed about this game is that as you unlock different abilities, you'll find yourself running back and forth along the map to get to previously inaccessible areas. It's definitely not a case of the map progresses linearly. You go left, right, up and down, basically, north, south, east and west. But you do start in some areas where you won't have abilities that let you access other areas around you. And certainly you do need to progress in the story a little bit. All this back and forth though, it really makes the world feel like somewhere you actually live, rather than something or somewhere that you just progress through. If you are a completionist, the different areas of the world or the map will start to feel very familiar as you traverse it. Definitely like a home. And that said, you do have a little home area that you set up yourself. That said, it isn't necessary to run back and forth across the map completing everything. Like I mentioned, all the abilities that you need to actually finish the story you can get for free as you journey through the map. One thing I will say is that you do find an ability which lets you port to the various shrines around the map, and this saves you a huge amount of running and jumping time. And eventually you will actually be able to buy an ability which lets you port from anywhere on the map to a shrine. At the beginning of the game you can basically just go from shrine to shrine. Pretty much the only complaints that I have about this game are those areas where you can't necessarily progress without a specific skill. It's not particularly clear what that skill is or when you unlock it. I mean, when you unlock it will be clear and you'll realize, oh well, there are areas I could go back to, but there's no easy way to see that. That will be a case of you running back and forth. Also, the quest tracking is not very detailed, so if you're expecting to be led by the hand to the different quest objectives, you are going to be very disappointed. I mean, that is just kind of the nature of a platformer, really. There also are some technical issues, some random FPS drops to 0, and also the odd audio glitch in-game. And the common fixes that I've tried for these just don't seem to work. Fortunately though, these kind of glitches don't happen too often. It has gotten apparently a lot more polished since it was released. In essence, the best compliment I can give the game so far is that it's completely sucked me in and I actually don't notice the time passing when I'm playing it. At the moment I've got about 7 hours in-game, and according to the character that you will meet along the way, I'm only about 20% of the way through. So I still have a long way to go, and honestly it feels like I've spent no time at all in the game so far. Alrighty, well that's all I have for you today on the Sunday Gaming series. I will be back this weekend with another video potentially on Ori, or I may move on. Depends how much more there is to say other than what I've said here. If you like this video, please do hit that like button, leave me a comment, and if you like the kind of content I make, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks very much. See you soon.